people. We are live. Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. here in the United Kingdom. I am Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master, back as always every Monday and every Thursday with my UK Bitcoin Master live show. So great to have you all here in the chat. Pound the like button, retweet this out, and if any of you are watching this on Twitter, please leave a comment. Leave a comment under the video. I'm trying to see if the other platforms that this is going out live on is actually coming into my portal so I can see who's coming on. Now, I've got everybody in at the moment from YouTube. If you are on Facebook, on my UK Bitcoin Master Facebook page, for whatever reason, even if you've just clicked on it just to poke your nose and see who I am and what I'm doing, just say something in the chat underneath the video in Facebook so I can see if those messages are coming through. Very quickly, hello to my lovely wife Elaine in the house. We've got Dave Shackelford coming in from Arizona. Johnny Midas coming in from Texas. We've got Yorkie Bitcoiner coming in from the north of the UK. We've got Paul Hill coming in from the south of the UK. Silent Lamb, welcome to you. As always, great to have you in the house. Buffy W's with us. John Forshaw coming in from Holland. Great to see you in the house, Jean. And also, Vinny Rondo has joined us. Vinny, welcome. So, pound the like button, people. Really, really important. So, let me talk briefly to the people new finding this channel either today or in the future. It is really important you do your own research. I'm not going to leave this up very long. Just don't take anything I say. You must go down the rabbit hole, do your own research. And if you are going to invest into Bitcoin, you have to be prepared to lose every single penny of your money. I'm not saying you're going to. I'm simply saying you have to be prepared to lose your money because it's a new and emerging asset. We believe it's going to the moon, but you know, we never know. We haven't got a crystal ball and we don't know what may happen in the future. Okay, if you are new, it is very well worth your time going to ukbitcoinmaster.com. That way you will be able to watch every video I've ever done. This is video number 391. So ever since I got into live streaming, you can go back and watch the first ones in the archive. Flipping awful, but it is what it is. We'd all got to start somewhere. Check them out. If you want to know and learn more about, you know, the intricacies of Bitcoin, what makes it unique, what makes it special, and you want to hear from some people that are really, really experts in their field financially and the like, what I would suggest you do is go to bitcoininterviews.com. There you're going to find all the interviews that I've done so far. And there's been some corkers in there from Jeff Booth, Gigi, crikey, there's loads of them. Adam Meister, aka Bitcoin Meister, Rocky Palumbo, Greg Foss, to name just 4 or 5, and there's nearly 50 in there. So I don't expect anyone to listen to what I'm saying and take advice and go do it, because I'm a regular dude who drove big trucks for a living for 20 years of his life and left school with no education. So I can't even give you financial advice. But if I can bring you people that you should be listening to, then that lends credibility to A, who I am, and B, my show, because you shouldn't be listening to me, you should be listening to them. So bitcoininterviews.com is where you'll find them. Come and join me on Thursday. I've got yet another awesome guest. He's coming in from the US. He's been in the financial world for, crikey, I would probably say 30 to 40 years. Top of his game in his field. There's going to be a great debate, I'm sure, there. Bitcoin, gold, whatever. So come and join us on Thursday. So let me just get rid of that. Silent Lamb, I've said hello. Kate Linden, good to see you in the house. Proud Zionist Jews with us as well. Great to see you with us. I'm seeing nobody commenting on either Twitter or Facebook. So if anyone is watching this, this is going out on restream.io to YouTube, Facebook, UK Bitcoin Master, and it's going out to Twitter. So if anyone is watching from any of those platforms, Facebook or Twitter, please put a comment underneath the video. I just need to see if they are coming into the portal. Sorry to rabbit on, but I'm really trying to get this technology working how I want it to work. Okay, right. So without further ado, let me just get the buttons right. Whoops, there we go. And let's have a quick look at what is going on with the Bitcoin price. You can see we are still in that sideways movement, 42K. 40 to 42K range. But when you zoom out, you can see that all is good. If I click on the chart from inception, you'll see that, we have gone up pretty well over the 13 years that we have Bitcoin has been in existence. I've seen Spencer Luxford. Welcome, Spencer. Good to see you in the house. Yeah, YouTube's been working fine, Spencer. Thank you for all the time I've been live streaming. I'm just trying to see if it's coming in from those other platforms, but it appears at the moment I'm only getting YouTube messages come through. So if we take a quick look at the chart, you'll see over on the right at the top, you're currently getting over 2,380 sats for every dollar. So of course, as the price drops, you are going to get more sats for your money. So if you are in Bitcoin thinking, you want the price to go down because you can get more sats for your dollar stroke pounds. So for those of you looking and stacking sats, it's good to see that we've gone from 2,000 Satoshis up to 2,380 now for your buck, for your dollar. For me, being all in, hey, listen, I want it to moon whenever it moons. I'm all in. I'm DCAing a little bit each month, but my pot is there already. So, we're all on a different strategy. But for me, hey, I don't mind if it blasts. Vinny says, YouTube good here in Staten Island. Good to know, Vinny. Good to know. So the market cap of Bitcoin currently just under 800 billion, as we can see. And again, we're hovering around the 42K mark. Okay, I'm going to run the show slightly different today. We've got no Twitter tweets to discuss. That is because the video that I'm going to run is slightly longer, and I'm going to talk about that video beforehand. And if you're listening to what I've just said a couple of minutes ago, and you shouldn't be listening to me, you should be listening to this guy when he talks about Bitcoin and why. Before we do that, I want to get this out of the way first. A quick shout out to Bitcoin to the Moon down in Australia. He is selling his asset portfolio that contains BitcoinToTheMoon.com, BTCToTheMoon.com. If you know a whale that wouldn't mind parting with nearly 11 Bitcoin, maybe they've got 1,000 and they wouldn't miss 11, then they can get their hands on BitcoinToTheMoon.com. And you can see why I've sort of put a red box around that strap line there. Bitcoin to the Moon is the common cry and dream of Bitcoiners throughout the world. So I'm sure there is a whale who would love to get their hands on BitcoinToTheMoon.com. So if you know anyone, get them to go to that website. Very, very quickly, I'm going to shout out to Matthew Underhill for his book. I've got mine here so you can see that I do own a copy. It is superb. It is a great book for beginners. It is a great book to give as a gift or to loan to a family member or a friend that you're trying to get them to see why Bitcoin. So enough said. Right, let's get into the show and the topic. So how many people have heard of this gentleman? If you have, put it in the chat. And I'll tell you why that's important in a minute. Because firstly, this guy is a very successful billionaire. He is a successful investor, fund manager, philanthropist, etc., etc. And a lot of these OGs or boomers, and remember I'm a boomer, but I came in at the end of the boomer generation, where people like this guy probably came in at the start of the boomer generation, but I am a boomer. Now, this guy's name is Bill Miller, and I'm going to give you some bullet points, and then I'm going to run some clips of a video that I watched recently on YouTube where he was interviewed, and I thought is absolutely superb. Now, we know that Bill Miller is into Bitcoin, but what these fund managers do, they allocate maybe 1% or 5%, and at a squeeze, what they do in business is that they sort of say 10 to 20% is really an extreme for an investor, that dealing with funds, people's funds, etc. But have a listen to what he's got invested very, very shortly. So some bullet points about Bill Miller. What are his credentials? Why should you, my audience, listen to what this guy's got to say? Well, firstly, he is the only fund manager ever to beat the S&P 500 15 years in a row from, I think it's 81 to 95 or 91 to 2006 or something like that. But he did it 15 years in a row. And he's what we refer to as a value investor. So he looks for stocks that are massively undervalued, that he can clearly see there is a market for. Now, that's really, really important when it equates to Bitcoin, as we'll hear on the video. His case for Bitcoin, we know this, but you've got this fund manager saying this to lend credibility to me, this crazy Brit ranting at you twice a week. It cannot be touched by government, cannot be inflated away. There is a finite supply of 21 million. He sees it as an insurance policy. He also bought a little bit of Bitcoin in 2014 and then did nothing again till, I believe, about 2018 or 2019, I can't quite remember now, but it was quite a large gap. And he bought it at 67k. He bought it all the way down to 30k, and he bought even more at 30k because he sees the value in where this is going long term. I keep saying to you people that are regulars, don't look at the day-to-day price. You're looking at the wrong thing if you're studying price. You should be studying what the billionaires are doing, what the fund managers are doing and what they're saying, because the price will catch up. Jean Verschoor from Holland put something in the chat before we went live, and he was talking about, I think it was Jean anyway, it might have been someone else, but Max Kaiser said on a recent YouTube show, price follows hash rate, and yet we just go looking straight at the price. You should be looking at the hash rate. I think we're at 187 exahashes right now, so I think we're up around, or we've surpassed our all-time high again. And this guy Bill Miller, amongst many others, have got this, and this is what I'm trying to get over to you guys. And in essence, he's saying that the smartest people that make the most amount of money in the world, they recognize value. And if you are in Bitcoin right now, even if you don't understand it, it means you recognize value in some way, shape or form, and it feels right to be in Bitcoin. Dan Suffolk, Bitcoiner, welcome. Good to see you in the house as always, Dan. Haven't seen you around for a while, so really pleased that you're here. Dan, I know that you follow me on Facebook. If you are watching this on Facebook, Dan, could I ask you to put a comment under the video, because I'm running a platform and I don't seem to see any Facebook comments or Twitter comments coming into this live feed, and they should be, and I don't want to reach out to Restream until I know that it definitely isn't working, and I don't want to sound a bit silly. So Dan, if you're doing this on Facebook, or if you could nip into Facebook and put a message under the video, I'd really, really, really appreciate it. So back to Bill Miller. He says the people make fortunes recognize value. What they do is they stack sats. Can you see that? And they hold, or they hodl, or they hold on for dear life, whatever. He goes on to say, Bitcoin has grown, and we know this. How many times have I said this on my show and others? Bitcoin has grown 170% on average over the last 11 years. In fact, I saw a stat this morning that in 2021, Bitcoin grew 60% in 2021, or 60-ish%, but gold lost 6%. So where do you want to put your money if you're looking for a return? He says there's a lot more people using it now. Lots more venture capitalist money piling into Bitcoin. Skeptics are turning around and not being skeptics anymore. One of the case in point, the guy from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, he's off doing NFTs and other coins, poop coins as well, but that's his call, that's his bag, it's up to him. He wants to diversify. But I watched a video recently that I saw months ago, and I just saw it in my feed and clicked it again, and he was trying to beat up on Anthony Pompliano on CNBC in 2018, saying, it's just rubbish, it's crap, it's got no intrinsic value, etc. We're going to hear from Bill Miller in a minute, where he talks about intrinsic value. So stick around. And he says that the Bitcoin right now, or Bitcoin, is super underpenetrated. That means there is masses going to pile into it. He talks about it is volatile, but anything that is new and emerging has got to go through price discovery. So it has to be volatile. And the people that can swallow the volatility will make the biggest gains on the back end. That's the trade-off for dealing with these massive ups and massive downs, the volatility. The trade-off, if you can stomach that and know that it's normal, you can make fortunes on the back end. But again, he's coming back to this insurance policy, and we'll hear from him in a minute. He says it is digital gold that cannot be confiscated. It cannot be inflated away, i.e. they can't print any more of it like money. It is new. It is an emerging technology. He goes into that. And he says it fights FUD by comparison when he values a Picasso, when he talks about something hasn't got any intrinsic value. And his attitude is, so tell me what intrinsic value a painting has got then. A bit of cardboard with some, oils on it and a frame. Where does that make a painting worth millions and millions and even hundreds of millions? And its supply is totally unaffected by any demand. So what is he allocated? 50% of his wealth, his personal wealth, 50% into Bitcoin. The other 50% is pretty well in Amazon. He's got some shares in MicroStrategy and in some Bitcoin mining companies, but the bulk of it is in Amazon and it is in Bitcoin, which I find really impressive. So he might be an OG, but these are the people that other billionaires and fund managers take notice of, or they watch them to see what happens. And as dominoes fall, I'm telling you, those people don't want to be the last into this thing. So there are people saying that we are looking for some pretty spectacular things that might happen in 2022. We might see the crash of stock markets, etc., but we might also see some incredible announcements. I don't know where that's coming from. I've just seen it on other pods. And then this one, how does he DCA? Dollar cost average. If you don't know what that is, he says he buys all the way down. I could put Guy Bennett or Pub Lord or Pubby here, because Pubby bought all the way down from the top in 2017, right the way down to 3K. He bought through all the bear market of 18 and 19. He kept buying through 2020. He's been buying all through 2021. What he bought in December 2017 that went from about 18 down to 3 is now back up past 18 at 42. So on paper, he lost money, but as long as he didn't sell his Bitcoin, he's got that back and he is now in positive. And that is what I say. If you're going to invest in Bitcoin, zoom out and give this thing 4 years, 5 years, a decade, depending on your age. That's what you should be looking for. Jean said, I posted a message on Facebook and Twitter on your live videos. Bear with me then, people, because whilst it is my show, I'm looking to see if those are coming in. Oh, fantastic. Lance Robinson, test on Facebook. That is in. I don't see a Twitter. I am looking, Jean. No, I'm not seeing anything on Twitter. If anybody's watching on Twitter, please put a message on. I'll have to go and check any settings, but at least it's coming through on Facebook, which I'm really pleased about. Awesome. Okay, right. So I think there's one more for Bill. Okay. He says Bitcoin versus gold. Now, I'm going to give you my thoughts on this in a minute. Gold has gone from 5 cents to $1,800 in 5,000 years. Bitcoin has done the same in 10 years. Gold has gone down over the last 10 years. Bitcoin has gone up. This is what you want to consider, people. I don't want to keep bashing gold because gold's been a store of value for 5,000 years, and I believe it will exist in some form. I just happen to believe that Bitcoin will eat more and more of gold's market cap over time. We posted on Twitter. Yeah, but it's not showing up, Elaine. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, you're saying you already have. So thanks for trying. Appreciate it. I need to sort of get on with the show. So what I want to do now, let's go and have a listen to Mr. Bill Miller. And instead of looking at it on these little slides that I've got, let's listen to the man speaking himself. Hold on a second. Here we go.
My thinking here was that I heard a talk on Bitcoin given by the person who's known as Patient Zero in the Bitcoin world, Wences Casares. And Wences gave a talk at the Allen Company Sun Valley Conference, and he led off his talk, this is 2014, I want to say. He led off his talk by saying that, asking how anybody owned Bitcoin. No, nobody in the audience owned it, except for him. And did anybody know what it was? And a few scattered hands went up. And he said, well, let me explain to you why I own Bitcoin. And he said, and it's because I understand why you wouldn't understand it, because you all live in America, and you have a rule of law, and you have orderly governments, and in most times you have relatively low inflation and a prosperous economy. And he said, but I'm from Argentina, and my family's been there 150 years, and we've been wiped out 4 separate times by the Argentinian government, seizing our assets, nationalizing the banks, inflating us out with hyperinflation. And he said, so Bitcoin can't be touched by the government.
I want to stop it there. There's an important point there. We in the West, we in affluent countries, we with our nice cars and our nice homes, and, we go on holiday a couple of times a year. We have no clue what it is like to live in a country where they seize all your assets. They freeze your bank account. And I believe is it Venezuela? I might be wrong. Somebody put something in the chat and correct me. There are literally 1,000 bills, 1,000, not dollars, it's not dollars, but is it not bolivars? Is it bolivars or is it something else? Just lying in the street because they're absolutely worthless. And I want you to just take a minute and imagine if you lived in that environment where, as you got any money from a job or from anything, you had to spend it as fast as you possibly could, because in a day or two or a week later, it is worth half of what it was worth when you got it. That is hyperinflation, and it is the most scary thing ever. And he is saying that he saw this guy talk, and their governments had literally swept in and froze all of their assets and everything, and he's seen it over 4 times, or his family had seen it. Let's have some more.
It's a peer-to-peer, decentralized, independent network. It's a ledger that records every transaction that's public. It's immutable. And he said, so the government, if you have Bitcoin, the government cannot take it away from you. And he said, so think of it as an insurance policy. And he went into it and talked about it. And I thought, and he talked about putting 1% of your liquid net worth in Bitcoin. And I thought that was sensible. He laid out what it could do if it worked. He said then that it was very risky, because then it was about $200. But I bought some then, and I bought a little bit more over time, and it became $500. And then I stopped buying it. And I didn't buy it for years until just the spring of this year. It hit a $66,000 high price. And then in 4 weeks, it was in half. Now, Bitcoin has gone up on average 170% a year for the last 11 years. Now, but that's not every year, it's just an average. It's gone down 3 different times by more than 80%.
Okay, we stop it there. So for those of you that are new into all of this, I want you to imagine having $100 pounds in Bitcoin, and then you see that 100 become 20. If you do not harden yourself and build that strong hand, that 80% correction that he's talking about, it's going to wipe you out. You're going to have people around you saying, what have you done? Why have you invested in that stupid Bitcoin for? Okay, what he's saying is he's seen this, it's gone down at least 80%, but it always bounces back, and then it always surpasses its original all-time high. And that's why you've got to zoom out and look over, maybe at least a minimum of 4 or 5 years, in terms of you've only lost money if you sell it. But these corrections, when they come, they can be gut-wrenching if you put money in and you see that money start to disappear. It's not disappearing. It is just disappeared on paper because the volatility has taken the price down, and you've got to be able to stomach that.
So that is a very volatile and therefore very dangerous, especially if you're levered, as you can be if you're on some of these exchanges that'll loan you 50 to 1 on your Bitcoin. But each time it's been stopped at around the low 80s level, and it's come back. And this time I started buying it again at $30,000, down from 66. And my reasoning was, There's a lot more people using it now. There's a lot more money going into it in the venture capital world. There are a lot of people who are skeptics who are now at least trying it out. And I thought maybe 50% is a good stopping point for it. But if it goes back down to 80 or 85, I'll buy it all the way down. Well, it did stop right around 50% and slowly started its way back up again. But I bought a fair amount at the $30,000 range and have been adding to various Bitcoin-related.
I want to stop it there. He bought a fair amount at the $30,000 range. It had corrected 50%. You just heard him. And yet, when it was down, he bought it. He bought the dip. When you hear this buy the dip, we mean buy the dip, because when this thing goes, I just feel it's going to tear people's faces off. You're going to see growth that you can't even believe is actually happening. Adam Meister, a.k.a. Bitcoin Master, a.k.a. Proud Zionist Jew in our chat. When we had this craziness of the sickness that's happened in March 2020, whatever day it was, when all the markets crashed and everything went down, he went in and bought 2 full Bitcoins at a cost of $10,000 for the 2 coins. So today at 42K per Bitcoin, his 10,000 investment is now 84,000. So this is the point. You have to build your belief up to a point where you just know that over time, this thing is going to the moon, and you ignore these corrections, because that is the volatility of Bitcoin.
Investments since then.
So, why such confidence in it as an investment, aside from the fact that it certainly has worked really well and more people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon?
There's several different ways to approach that.
Yeah.
I would say that right now, it's best thought of as digital gold. So gold is, as people have said, a store of value for 5,000 years.
Right.
And gold is what people typically fled to when the governments tried to, inflate them out. And in the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt confiscated everybody's gold in 1933. You had to turn it in or you went to jail. So they can't confiscate your Bitcoin because there's nothing. You hold it securely. As long as you have an internet connection, you can send it somewhere instantaneously at very low cost.
Okay, so he's got it. He's really got it. And this guy, you got to understand, people. When somebody says I put 1% of my net worth into Bitcoin, okay, when you're a billionaire, that is still a huge amount of money, if that makes sense. So to put 50% of your own personal net worth into something, I'm sorry, but you get it. You really get it. And this guy's going to have loads of experts around him, mastermind groups, financial people, etc. So, I applaud him for putting 50% of that net worth into Bitcoin. Jean says, pegging the US dollar to Bitcoin one day to prevent it from sliding down to a Venezuela or Zimbabwe equals infinite intrinsic value for Bitcoin. Get in there, Jean. Absolutely couldn't agree more. Just checking nobody else is commenting. If you type in UK Bitcoin Master, behind the camera there, I've got my YouTube chat open and it will highlight in red and I can see it and I can read it out. If you don't type in UK Bitcoin Master, I can see it sometimes, but most of the times it doesn't jump out at me. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go over and listen to more of what Mr. Bill Miller has got to say.
And the reason I like the insurance company analogy is because if you think about, people talk about the intrinsic value of Bitcoin. This is a Warren Buffett argument, that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. It doesn't have any earnings. It will never pay any dividends. And so how do you even think about something like that? It is a new technology. It's something that couldn't be done before. But in any case, the answer that I have to that is, well, I mean, what's the intrinsic value of that Mickey Mantle baseball card that sold for $5.5 million? It's just cardboard. And it doesn't even have a legend. It could be counterfeited very easily.
Fair play.
Or what's the intrinsic value of a Picasso painting, which is just canvas and paint and maybe a frame. But people will pay millions or tens of millions of dollars for it. And so it comes down at the very basic level for supply and demand. So Bitcoin is the only economic entity where the supply is unaffected by the demand. So even...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it is about me chatting with you all, but coming through what this guy is saying or whoever I'm talking about on a particular show. I want to say this again because a lot of people, they hear, but they don't listen. Okay. And there is a difference between listening and hearing. Okay. When you listen, you've got to get that if there's only 21 Bitcoin and no more can be created, and there are close to 8 billion people on the planet, if and when we go to a Bitcoin standard, you are going to have to divide 21 million coins, potentially 18 million, because it's estimated that 3 million are lost, or their keys have been lost, or they've been thrown away in hard drives or whatever. Okay, what you want to get is that with only 18 million coins that can be liquid at any one time, you are going to get a situation where there is just not enough Bitcoin to go around, which drives prices even higher. Let me give a shout out to Common Sense Economics. People, say hello. This is a troll. He wants to come into the chat and keep putting negatives. He's put one there. Why is Bitcoin tanking? What have we just talked about? And if he'd have been at the start of the show, he'd have got that this is a really volatile asset. And Common Sense Economics, my friend, if you are as successful as this billionaire investor, Bill Miller, who believes Bitcoin has got an incredible future and has got 50% of his net worth in it, then I would take your comments seriously, but I'm not going to. So please feel free to troll the chat. People in the chat, just ignore it because he keeps coming in and then just leaving negative comments. That's okay. We don't mind. Anyone is welcome here. So, Wasbree Whipple, should we not be buying more Ethereum to trade into Bitcoin later as ETH should treble? Hey, listen, give it a go if you want to, but here's where I'm at, and I take your point. And if you want to take a risk, you know, yes, go on and do that. But here's the thing. If you strip it back, you've got a guy that was unhappy with what was going on in Bitcoin, so he forked off and decided he wanted to start his own crap coin, and it was called Ethereum. They front-end loaded a load of them to the Ethereum people. There's a name they call it. It wasn't an airdrop. It was a big chunk of the Ethereum they got. Now they've moved to proof of stake, which fundamentally means the more Ethereum you have, the more say you have in what happens to the Ethereum blockchain down the road. Now, I'm talking as a regular guy that came from a trucking background, so I'm not an expert. I'm trying to deliver it the best way I possibly can, but I don't want to have my hard-earned money at 62 years of age in a coin where they can roll the blockchain back as they've done before. They can make a change at the top whenever they see fit. And we're back to this narrative again, is unless it's truly decentralized, it can be manipulated. There is an attack vector there where no one knows if the SEC might put these laws into place and then come after Ethereum. So yes, you can. And yes, maybe Ethereum will pump more than Bitcoin, but I'm not going there. Each to their own. I would rather hold my money in a coin where the developers don't make changes and break things because people want change quick. They make changes when they're ready, so the blockchain moves on. I was around with the hash wars, where Roger Ver forked off into Bitcoin Cash, saying that the blocks are all too slow. You need to make the blocks bigger. He forked off. Where is Bitcoin Cash today? Where? I want to be involved with something where my hard-earned money is absolutely safe. Governments can't come and impound it because they've literally got to shut the internet down. I could rant on and on and on and on about that, but all I would say to you Whipple, I wouldn't put my money in ETH. That's your call entirely. So I can't keep reading the chat as I get sidetracked. Let's go back to Mr. Miller.
Gold, if gold, which is $1,800 today, if gold goes to $18,000, there will be a lot more gold mined because mines that are unprofitable will become profitable. And so gold, which accretes today, the production of gold is equal to about 1.5 to 2% of the total value per year. And that's the same accretion that Bitcoin has currently. But this year, 2022, I think will drop below 1.5% on that. So only 21 million Bitcoin can ever be created or close to it. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin is 100,000 or 20 million. There's only going to be that many of them. So all you have to really believe is that the demand for Bitcoin will grow faster than 1.5%, over the next number of years. And the price inexorably will go up. So I've only recently been allowing myself to be described as a Bitcoin bull. I used to tell people, they say, oh, you're a Bitcoin bull, you own a lot of Bitcoin. I'm like, I do own a lot of it, but I'm actually a Bitcoin observer.
I like this bit. Pay attention. He observes trends.
And I'm observing its trajectory as a new technology and comparing it to the trajectories of things like the printing press or the steam engine or the railroads or the automobile or electricity. And it's following that very not predictable, because it's not predictable certainly in the early days, a well understood path for the adoption of new technologies. And you know, I think it was Stan Druckenmiller said earlier in the year that, and now he owns Bitcoin, by the way, but he said that Bitcoin was a solution in search of a problem. And what I've found amusing about that is every new technology is a solution in search of a problem. Because you have a new technology and you try to figure out what you're going to do with it. And so, you know, when we created the internet, what are we going to do with that? So the Defense Department had good uses for it, but it was tough for other people to see. But now everybody can see what the value of the internet is. Same thing with the internal combustion engine, which was very dangerous and all, but now that's taken over the world, and now we're going to move to electricity. So all kinds of technologies have to grow into their potential.
All technologies have to grow into their potential. Bitcoin came into existence and then it needed to solve a problem. And that problem is fixing the money. Fix the money, you fix the world. You fix the money, you get rid of governments, corrupt bankers, the oligarchs, and all that. So I just my own belief. Nobody needs to take anything on board I'm saying. But my belief throughout my core being here is that Bitcoin, hopefully in my lifetime, will be the world reserve currency, the currency of the world. And I can't see any other coin out there that is going to be able to do that. Sure, you can go and make some money, some fast money on the other coins. Sure, go and buy some other coins. Go through 1,000% X and hook it out and put it into Bitcoin. Superb if you can increase your Bitcoin holdings. But for me, I'm a safe bet sort of guy, and I want to invest in the number one. I want to invest in the coin that's got first mover advantage. I want to invest in the coin that is got all the network effects out there. It's almost $1 trillion asset. And there's nothing that's going to be able to topple Bitcoin, in my opinion. Ethereum will do its own thing with DeFi. A lot of that's going to go to the wall ultimately. A lot of people are going to lose their money. DeFi will continue on, agreed, but a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. For me, I'm a regular working class guy that wants to leave something for my kids and grandkids. So for me, it is Bitcoin. Let's listen to Bill for a couple more minutes.
Bill, can you explain to me the concept of Bitcoin as an insurance policy?
There's 21 million shares of this insurance company outstanding. And every day that somebody wakes up and says, you know, I need some insurance in case something, you know, in case the government seizes all the gold like they did back in 1933. Or, you know, when Afghanistan, we pulled out of Afghanistan, Western Union stopped remittances. So if you couldn't get money, and it's still hard to get money in Afghanistan, you were in serious trouble. In Lebanon, the lira has completely collapsed. Venezuela is a failed state, and yet Bitcoin continues right along. That was your insurance policy against financial catastrophe of one
TikTok, next block.
Sort or another. And what did the Fed do when the pandemic shut down all parts of, threatened to shut down all parts of the economy? The financial markets came unglued, and the normal relationships between cash and bonds and securities, especially asset-backed securities, got blown apart. And the Fed had to increase the money supply by 25%. To keep those things from collapsing as they did in 2008. Right. During that time, the Bitcoin network functioned perfectly. There was no run on it. There was, you know, prices went down initially until people figured out, wait a minute, we've had a tremendous collapse here, and the Bitcoin blockchain is functioning without any interference at all.
Okay, so if we have a stock market crash, if there's some kind of crash this year, you need to understand that Bitcoin and all cryptos will go down with that. Many cryptos will get wiped out, or they'll take a much harder hit than Bitcoin will. And then see which recovers the fastest. Just go back and look at March the 12th or 13th, 2020, when we had this joke happen and Bitcoin went down, everything went down, and then you just see how Bitcoin recovered that fast. That's what I love.
So I think that explains it, I think, in a way that many people can understand. If you want a little bit of financial insurance, then buy a Bitcoin or a part of a Bitcoin.
Couldn't agree more.
Gold has gone from, been around 5,000 years, so it's gone from, let's make up a number and say a dime, a nickel in today's parlance. And in 5,000 years, it's gone from a nickel to $1,850. And in 10 years, Bitcoin has gone from a nickel to $57,000. So
did you hear that? 5,000 years from a nickel to $1,800. Bitcoin in 10 years, he was talking of, has gone from a nickel, as he calls it, to 50, whatever it was, thousand. Okay, so this was done on 2nd of December, I believe. But that's not the point. The point is, can you see why those people that have got their assets, their wealth in gold, are at least looking and thinking, crikey, Bitcoin really is the fastest horse in the race?
Why would I own gold? Especially since gold in the last 10 years has gone down. In the last 10 years, Bitcoin is the best performing asset category in the world.
There you go.
But I think
I don't need to say any more, people. That was Bill Miller. So again, I'm just echoing the words of somebody who is extremely successful out there as a fund manager, philanthropist. I like that too. So you've got to draw your own conclusions, people. I can't tell you what to do. All I know from my own personal perspective, without any financial gain, is you've got to get off zero. And I'm just getting whatever Bitcoin I can, whenever I can, given that we've put a large amount in already back in 17 and 18, and we are just DCAing every time we get paid. That's all we can do now. So you've got to look at your own situation, your own finances. Maybe you've got to ask yourself, what am I spending that I want to, but I don't really need to? Could I put that into Bitcoin? That is why the the meme is always going around on Twitter, got no more chairs to sell. People are saying, what can I sell to buy some sats? You got to understand that 100,000 Satoshis that might cost you, I don't know, $20 or something, or $100 even, that could be someone's annual salary in a decade. So you want to get every single sat you can. And that's just me saying it. I'm not saying you should, but you've got to do your own research and then say, yeah, I need to get every flipping single sat that I can. So you know me in quotes, I love them. Here's a quote. I love this one. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. The ability to triumph begins with you always. As an old saying, if it's to be, it is up to me. If it's to be, you should be looking at getting off of zero, getting yourself into Bitcoin so that you can, if you like, secure your part, your tiny little chunk of this asset class that cannot be debased. I've lost my mouse now completely. It cannot be debased. Whatever you own is yours. Somebody said something in the chat earlier before I end the call, and that is, if you're measuring it in fiat currency terms, yes, it doesn't look like Bitcoin's going anywhere. But again, I watched a Jay Gould interview a couple of days ago where he said, don't quote me, but he said something like he built a house and in Bitcoin terms, it cost him 5,000 Bitcoin to build it. But if he built the same house today with the same spec, it would cost him 50 Bitcoin. Can you see how your dollar or your pound is getting worth less and less and less over time and buying you less and less and less? And yet Bitcoin will buy you more and more and more over time if you stop, whoever it was, I thank them, if you stop comparing your Bitcoin to fiat by saying, like I did at the top of the show, oh, Bitcoin's 42k today. We all do it, don't we? I saw something on Twitter earlier and somebody posted something. You know when you've got an opinion, and we've all got opinions, by the way. They're a bit like belly buttons. We've all got one, but they're totally useless. But we've all got one. And this person said, da-dee-da-dee-da, and we normally say, that's just my two cents or my 2 pennies, don't we? He said, da-dee-da-dee-da, that's my 2 sats. Get in there. Absolutely love it. So people, if you want to drop a tip because you enjoy the content, there's a couple of lightning addresses. Just watch this again and freeze it. I'm not going to leave it on there, but you can drop me some Satoshis if you like the show. All I want to do is say, I hope you got something from that content. I've got a live guest on Thursday, so come and join me. I'm not announcing who it is because what I'm finding, some of the bigger guests with more prominence sort of, you never know if they're going to actually turn up till the last minute, and they're not particularly great communicators. So I'm sort of holding off with who it is, but I'm telling you, if they do come on a show, you won't want to miss it because we're going to hear Bitcoin, gold, either or. And it, by the way, it's not Peter Schiff. So people, that is it. Please like this, share it, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and a share. Same with Twitter. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry that you couldn't see the slides that I put up, but hopefully you heard me read them. If you're watching this on YouTube 24 hours later, you'll see some boxes come up over here. I always do it the wrong way around. Click on them. That will take you to my website. It's great to see my family in, my wife, my daughter, my granddaughter, my nephew. That is what Bitcoining is about, people. Getting your family to catch the Bitcoin vision. Bitcoin, My Bill 66 has just joined us. We're just ending My Bill, but good to see you here nevertheless. That is it, peeps. 6 o'clock on Thursday with a great live guest. He's been everywhere at the moment on people's podcasts. So I don't want to give you any more clues, but he's been everywhere of late. It clearly isn't Greg Foss. He's recently been on. It isn't Peter McCormack. I'm going to leave it up to you to wonder who it is. Come and join me Thursday. You're going to find out. I'm out of here. Have a great week, whatever you're doing. Thanks for your support as always. I'm Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master. Strong Bitcoin hand. Stack those Satoshis. I'll leave you with my social media links. Cheerio, everyone. Thanks for your support.